Warning.
Warning. Warning. Warning. Warning. Warning.
Warning. So seriously, if you've been watching our channel and you know that we've made guesses about The Chosen coming up in season 3, in this episode specifically, we're going to be looking at factual kind of roadmap stuff of season 3 and some hidden things that have been in the past Chosen videos on YouTube. There might actually be spoilers here. So if you don't want to know about any of that stuff and you want season 3 to be completely fresh, don't watch this video. But for those of you who want to go on the journey with me and sleuth out everything that we can find, then here we go. This is going to be an amazing video. In October 2020, before season 2 of The Chosen was even released, there was a video released on The Chosen's YouTube channel talking about writing The Chosen itself, talking about season 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, determining what the story would be throughout the entirety of the show. Now, I remember when this video came out, and I remember loving this writing process, but a viewer named John recently reached out and reminded me that there may be some hints about season 3 and beyond in this video. And so I decided to go back and look at every single frame, literally every single frame of this video, to determine if we could find anything out about what's upcoming in season 3. And let me tell you, if this is what's upcoming in season 3, then we know many of the bigger story beats that are going to be happening, not only in season 3, but actually we see some things into season 4 as well. Now, this doesn't give us an overall picture of what the show is actually going to look like, or what shots they're planning, or what's actually going to be happening. There's lots of things that we still don't know. But there are specific beats here that are really interesting as we dive into season 3 and really learn what it's all about. Now, going throughout this entire video, The Chosen did a great job about blurring most of the important information. However, there is one shot that shows the roadmap of season 2, 3, and 4 all together. And while we can't read everything, sometimes because of the bad handwriting and sometimes because it's out of the frame of shot, but we can see a lot of what's kind of going on, especially in season 3, which is interesting as we're walking up to that right now. And as we continue to put this puzzle together, it'll help us to have a better view of what the season is supposed to look like. So here is the image of the partial roadmap of season 3, and we can see a little bit of season 4 here as well. I have all of these things blacked out because we're going to reveal them one by one as we go through this video. But first, how do we even know that this is season 3? This could be from any other season of the show as well. Well, if we take this screenshot right here, and we turn it upside down so we can see it the right way, we see an earlier version of this roadmap that actually comes near the end of the video. We can see all the way to the bottom left that at the end of season 1, we see the woman at the well. And then we see season 2 begin in the second column. At the bottom of the third column is labeled season 3, and then season 4, season 5, and so on. Now, what's written in column 2 or season 2 of this image is kind of blurred out. But if we go back and compare it to the other image that we have, we can see that this is obviously talking about the Sermon on the Mount, which is in season 2. Now, this gives us clarity that this is season 3 that we're looking at in this main column of the image that we're going to dissect today. Now, there is a small video section showing this area of the roadmap. At the top of season 3 in this column, we see a title, and it says Year of Popularity. Then something in the middle that I can't really read, and then at the bottom it says Led to Optimism. So this is kind of the overall feeling of season 3. It's a year of popularity. As Christ becomes more popular in the area, he's healing people and people love him before they're going to turn on him later or before they find his ideas too out there. So this brings us to the first main point that's in this column of season 3, and that would be the bleeding woman, and it's linked to Jairus's daughter. Now, we've talked about this in our live streams before, breaking down season 3 and talking about what might be upcoming. Now, we thought that the bleeding woman might be a part of season 3, but we weren't sure if that would be linked to Jairus's daughter still. It seemed really important that it was, especially through scripture, but we hadn't seen any evidence of that quite yet until now. I guess 2 years ago we technically had it, but I didn't know it existed. And anyway, we're here now. So it really seems like this is going to be one of the first things that happens in season 3, which is really cool. I'm really excited to see this overall. I think it makes a lot of sense that in this season, Jesus would be doing more healing than ever. And he's going to be continuing to gain popularity, just like it says at the top of this title. Now, a really important piece of this puzzle is that at the end of this little section here, there's an asterisk, and then at the bottom it says Gaius hears. So Gaius is going to play a role in this as well, and we'll see what that turns into in just a second. Then if we go over to the left side of the next part of this column, we see Joanna Returns. At least I think that's what it says. It's kind of hard to read. But if that's the case, then that means that we're going to be seeing Joanna, just like we've been guessing, in season 3, and we're going to see her pretty early as well. Now, the language Joanna Returns could mean that originally Joanna was supposed to appear in season 2, but didn't. But I don't know. I don't know really what that means. Maybe she's just returning from a journey that she was on, and that's how we're introduced to her. Then in the next small section, after the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus proclaims that he wants to preach to the Gentiles. This is a big switch from just talking to Jews primarily in season 1 and 2. We see later on in the Gospels as Jesus becomes more and more familiar among the Gentiles, and so this would be a big part of his ministry as well, and I'm super excited to see more of that. Now in the next large column, it's kind of hard to read the lower part, but the top part says this: everyone breaks up into two, which we've already talked about in our breakdowns. We talked about how they are going to go the 2x2 route, where everybody goes out 2x2 and they do miracles and they cast out demons and they do a bunch of different stuff. That's going to be an amazing, I think, montage. I don't think they're going to spend a ton of time on the 2x2. I don't think the whole season is going to be that, but I think that the 2x2 is going to be sort of a time skip, so that we're going to get the 2x2 montage, and that's going to bring us to a later point in the ministry. Because remember, throughout season 1 and 2, we've really only gone a couple of months, maybe, from the beginning of the season, from the beginning of the series. So there has to be some time moving here. Otherwise, we're going to be really skipping a lot of time later on. And then below this section, we see in parentheses that there are some words that say cost of discipleship. Now, I can't tell if this is an episode title. We're going to talk about this a little bit later on, so stick around. There's some important things that happen in season 4 that maybe connect to this. I'm not quite sure. So, but there's this phrase that keeps on repeating that we'll see as well. And then below that, we just get a list of names. So I'm not sure how this is kind of listed out. It says John, Big James, and I think it says Thaddeus and John. There's just a bunch of different names that are kind of here, but we don't know how they're ordered or why they would be there. It doesn't look like a list of 2x2. And so I'm not sure what that is. Then if we jump back up to the top right, we see Matthew here. And very interestingly, we see as Matthew seeks out Gaius. So remember, since season 1, we haven't seen Matthew and Gaius back together and having any conversation since then. But Matthew seeks out Gaius, and then the interesting part is that he finds out about his servant. So for you Bible scholars out there, you've been pointing this out since season 1, that Gaius could possibly be the centurion with the servant who's ill that comes to Jesus and asks for him to be healed. Now this would be really, really interesting, and I think that may be a possibility. If we look at Luke chapter 7, it definitely runs out like that. Like the centurion comes to Jesus, asks for healing, and he has belief that it will be done. And Gaius's faith would have been strengthened from seeing all of these other healings take place, from Jairus' daughter to the bleeding woman. And so all of these things make sense, especially since this roadmap seems to be pointing out that fact that he would have seen Jairus' daughter and the bleeding woman, and that would possibly give him faith to believe that his servant could be healed as well. That would be really interesting. I'd love to see more of Gaius for sure. So we'll see how that plays out. Then nearing the bottom of the page, we get some really interesting stuff. We see Joanna again as she comes back to Capernaum, but this time she's bringing money with her. Now, I wasn't quite sure what this section actually said until later on in the Chosen's video when Ryan is pointing at the board. And as he's pointing at the board, whoever's editing this video is trying to blur around his hand so that his hand is not blurred during the video. But in doing so, they reveal certain words that we can read through. And so we can clearly read on the board as his hand kind of goes through this motion, Joanna returns W/money, or with money. Remember, Joanna is the wife of Chusa, who is a high official. Think about it that way. And so Joanna is wealthy, and so she funds a lot of Jesus' ministry. So it makes sense that we would see Joanna in season 3 as she's beginning to help this ministry grow and do the things that it's going to do. Now that's the end of season 3 as far as we can see on this page for the most part. There are some other little pieces of text that we can read, but not fully. We only get a small picture of it. One of the interesting pieces that I can see left in season 3 is Shammai and Shmuel seeming to be together in some way. I can't fully read what this says, but it would be interesting to see Shammai again. And then if we look back at this other image that we flipped and we look back at the bottom of the page of season 3, we can see that it ends with the feeding of the 5,000, which we already knew. Now remember, any of this could have changed. In fact, they may have put this in the video because none of this is true to begin with. So we don't actually know if these are full spoilers or if this just is what they're planning, but we will see, right? Season 3 is right around the corner. The interesting part to me too is that there's actually bits and pieces of season 4, which hasn't even fully been written yet in this roadmap here. Are you enjoying the show so far? There's a lot of stuff I want to talk about in this video, but in order to do more videos like this, we really need support from our community. And so if you want to help us out and join our Patreon, we've got some amazing perks for you. In fact, we have podcasts right now that are going out only to our Patreon and our channel members. So if you want to support us, either $5, $10, or $25 a month, it would really, really help us out to be able to buy the equipment that we need or to set up our new podcasting studio, which we're in the middle of right now. So anyway, it would be a big help. If you could help out, that would be amazing. The link is in the description below. I'm actually wrong about some of my guesses that I've made about season 3. In particular, the first one, which is the death of John the Baptist. This is in the column of season 4, so that means that season 3, John's probably not gonna die. If we go to the part where the page is zoomed out, we can barely see that next to John the Baptist's death, we see the words again, cost of discipleship. Now, this is obviously a theme that's being played out through the seasons, which is obviously very important when we're talking about a show based on the disciples, who are the ones who carry this burden, this cost of discipleship, the ones that eventually will all die for the name of Christ, except for John, who dies of old age. We see at the beginning of season 4 that people begin to follow Jesus after the feeding of the 5,000, which is something that we see in scripture as well. The people were really wanting to see more of Jesus, learn more from him, but also they wanted food from him as well. Now below this is 2 small areas of text that are actually really important. The first one being Decapolis, and this is a region of Israel that Jesus went to do lots of healings and miracles, and where a lot of people began to follow him. So it's important that we know about this area. And then next to that is actually a couple of words that say centurion's son. Now, this could be pointing back to Gaius, and perhaps the chosen is changing servant to son. That wouldn't super make sense to me because the word doulos is slave, which means kind of servant in the original Greek, but either way, it'll be really interesting and we'll see what the chosen does. And the last piece of concrete information that we get from this image is the renaming of Peter, which is going to happen in season 4. I thought it was going to happen in season 3 because I'm so excited for it to happen, but it looks like it's going to happen at Caesarea Philippi like we see in Matthew 16. I actually can't wait for this scene. This is going to be one of the most powerful moments, I think, in all of The Chosen. Caesarea Philippi is a really interesting location in Israel, and the fact that we get to see this moment here is really, really cool. There are some moments when Peter's name gets changed and it's very flippant, but in Matthew specifically, it's a very prominent event where Jesus says specifically, on this rock I will build my church. And that's significant because in Caesarea Philippi, there's this massive cliff that would really be a great image of what Jesus is talking about here. And then beyond that, we have a few pieces of information that are kind of half cut off or that we can't fully read because it's just not focused on that area. The first one is that we see a dinner of some sort. It looks like it's with the Pharisees, which would point us to the dinner with Simon, which a woman comes in and washes Jesus's feet, which would make sense because we're seeing some of these other characters kind of pop in, and that would be a really powerful scene to see in season 4. Another very small hint that we get is that Quintus is going to be a little bit bigger of a point here. We see him doing something, but we can't really read what it is. I can't believe that I forgot that this video existed. Now, John, thank you so much for reminding me about this, and I hope you guys enjoyed and got some value out of this video. Definitely share it with your friends, like and comment, and let me know what is your favorite part that is going to be coming up in The Chosen. What is your favorite Bible moment? I'd love to hear about it and have some discussion with you in the comments below. Anyway, I hope you like this video. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.